Zhimao, welcome. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, pretty good. How are you?
Good as well. Zhimao is a co-founder from Cyberconnect, and he's joining us to talk about everything Web3 social and I hope also a bit of account abstraction. So yeah, first things first. What can you tell us about your own project? What is Cyberconnect?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. So Cyberconnect is a Web3 social protocol, and basically it's a set of smart contract or a set of infrastructures for developers to build up their next generation of Web3 product and especially social products. And meanwhile, we are building our own social products like Link3 and our unique social wallet or like cyber wallet called. So yeah, that's what it consists of CyberConnect right now.
Right. And well, in this podcast, like our primary goal is to dissect what it takes to build a great Web3 product. And admittedly, you
hmm
guys are the first developer-facing product that we've had in the podcast yet. So I think we're in for a cool conversation. In your mind, what do you think it makes you guys a great product for obviously for developers and for the other audiences that pertain to your different project projects within your product line. But yeah, what needs do you see your product solving? What do you think makes them good?
Yeah, for sure. I will talk this problem from two perspectives. So one is on the Link3 side, and the other one is on the Cyber Wallet or like AA wallet side. So first of all, on Link3 is tried to build a trusted Web3 professional network. It uses a Web3 native ways, for example, like attendance badge, verifiable credentials, SBTs, and EAS to provide Web3 organizations and persons easy ways to build up their on-chain presence. And all of these attestations and credentials are super interoperable and can be integrated into other projects. So that's one thing. And another thing we are actively building is like Cyber Wallet. So Cyber Wallet itself is a product, and also it provides AA infrastructures for other projects to use. It tries to offer a super new wallet UX experience for users. It tries to solve lots of Web3 user onboarding issues that UA have, for example, like transaction complexity and gas fee complexity. And we are trying to solve it and use like lots of very new technologies and new things. For example, like intent-based product design with batch transactions and the ERC 4337 paymasters to solve the gas fee problems and finally, I think Cyber Wallet itself try to solve the hard part of key management for lots of Web3 users. Yeah, I think these are two main products or main problem sets we are actively looking into or try to solve.
And well, for the listener that may have not done too much research on CyberConnect yet, that might seem like a wide array of things that you're trying to tackle all
Yeah.
at once. So, do you want to go a bit deeper into the rationale of why you're selecting these particular things? Connect the dots a little bit.
Oh yeah, sure. So basically, as far as we say, the reasons like why currently Web3 social product is not so widely adopted or not like very accessible from Web2 users perspective. One major problems is like the blockchain system's intrinsic complexity and also the current Web3 infrastructures have its own limitations to support, for example, like massive adoptions or to support easy access from Web2 users' perspective. So that's what we try to solve, or why we try to utilize different technologies to to like to solve this problem. Yeah.
Okay, and well, now we're getting to the very core of the matter here, Web3 social media, and obviously there are a great number of qualities that social media can bring to the table, done in a Web3 way, such as better payments for creators, obviously
Hmm.
decentralized, sensorless infrastructure. Better in general moderation or better incentives for users to participate and own these platforms. So I think it's very hard to contest that that social media being in Web3 would make it better. What else do you think has not really made it possible?
So you mean what like unique part Web3 compared social product compared to Web2 or
I guess the question could be boiled down to why do you think we have never managed to have a Web3 platform for social media actually stick?
uh-huh, uh-huh. So so I think for Web3 social products, the unique part is aims at its long-term sustainable tokenomic designs. I think that's a major differentiator between Web2 and Web3 products, and it can be a good supporting point to build up a brand new Web3 social systems for attracting new users from the Web2 world.
And I think in general, I feel like it's really hard to expect Web3 social platforms to gather that many users when there's not really that many new people hopping onto crypto all the time. So you
Hmm.
do need to address that mass market first, because before you actually attract the type of people that are interested in building sustainable, yes, social media for Web3. So how do you think we can attract that kind of user? What do you think is currently missing so that those users would care to join a Web3 based social platform?
Yeah, sure, sure. That's a great questions. I can see different aspects to answer these questions. I think, for example, number one, I would think of data privacy and ownership. So, for example, Web3 social platforms can give users more control over their personal data with like decentralized identity systems and blockchain-based storage, data storage. Like user can decide who have access to their data, how they used, like reducing the power of centralized identities to monetize users' data without consent. I think that's one perspective why it can attract some more users, why people care. And the second one is about, as you mentioned before, the content monetization. So basically, Web3 social platforms enable content creators to be directly rewarded for their contributions without relying on, for example, advertising revenues. So cryptocurrency and the blockchain-based tokens can facilitate, for example, like micropayments, crowdfundings, and other innovative monetization models. I think that is super important also.
Monetization is a huge one, I think, and that's even what you would often see in normal social media platforms that are just launching. They usually what they try to do is they try to pay up creators to abandon the platform that they're currently on and just go exclusive on there so that they can bring along their audience. I think that happens a lot when there's like a new Twitch competitor. You just have that kind of attraction, and I think a Web3 social platform would make it more attractive or more accessible by not saying, hey, come and see your favorite creator, but like we're going to pay you better as a creator no matter what, because we're not the ultimate owners of the platform.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, obviously you have both sides. You have your own platform and you have the social graph on which other people can build their own platforms. What kind of like product trends have you embraced when it comes to building your own?
Uh, the product trends, I would say like it's more towards like tokenomics enable product social product, especially this kind of product with tokenomics building and with decentralization concept building things. For example, like the recently very popular FriendTech one is a very good example. Like that's kind of a trend on the Web3 social side, more towards this kind of yeah
Okay,
social product. Mhm.
can you tell us a bit more about how what did you see in FriendTech that you tried to sort of try to do similarly, or what you, yeah, and how you went about that?
Yeah. I think there are several good things about the FriendTech, and we share like some similar thoughts, or we're building towards a similar experience, I would say. So I think one like very important sense is about the first sense about the tokenomic design, so that it can have a way to do the reward distribution to reward the community members, to reward the contributors. That's one thing, and that creates a very unique and a very interesting mechanisms for people to participate into normal social activities like chatting with each other, messaging, or like buying other people's profile, or like they call it keys. I think that's in general in one direction to go, like the tokenomics economic side. And the second thing is what I think one very important thing is to have frictionless onboarding experience for users. For example, like a friend tag try to use social login for users to manage their cryptographic keys. I think that is one importance. So we are trying to improve of our products UI UX and also onboarding experience, so that users don't have to care about too much about, for example, key management, about the transaction systems, about the gas fee systems coming from blockchain system itself. Rather, they are just more focusing on product itself and focusing on what it can provide to the Web3 users compared to a normal Web2 product. I think these are two unique side and very interesting part.
I think one thing that Friend Tech did really well, and that not that many people paid attention to, but I think the right people paid attention to this, was the ecosystem that immediately emerged around it. So
Hmm.
immediately you had people like opening secondary market for users' keys, doing all kinds of things. And in my opinion, that's part of what made FriendTech feel very fresh. That it was not just trying to do Reddit with money as upvotes like Steam did, or not really trying to do like a Web3 Twitter like someone else tried to do. It really felt fresh. What kind of features do you think Web3 social media platforms need to have to get popular, or to actually, yeah, to drive more interest, or to harness the capabilities of Web3 a bit better?
Hmm. Uh, I think one key features is as I mentioned before, is to have very frictionless login method, or like onboarding experience. So that's maybe very sounds very minor, but actually not, because the account system on Web3 world is super different from like Web2's world. So that I think one key feature is to provide very easy login mechanism or like onboarding experience for users to onboard to your social product first. I think that's very crucial.
For sure, and I mean, at Particle Network, we would know one thing or two about that, being like wallet as a service providers and social logins providers and so on. But I
Hmm.
was referring to mostly as what makes products unique, because I mean, social logins are cool, but no one goes to an app just because they're able to log in
Hmm.
with their socials, right? You need something that attracts people, and it's been hard to see social platforms grow as much lately. It looks like we're stuck with the same ones plus TikTok, and also everyone's trying to sort of copycat TikTok. But what do you think? Yeah, a Web3 social platform would need to do to actually get popular.
Yeah, yeah. I think one direction could go is to from the content monetization channel. So probably develop um, more ways to for content creators to monetize their content easily and in various ways. And yeah, yeah, I think because lots of users coming along with their um big they are kind of like big fans for their for some sorts of creators or content creators. So I think it's important to attract these kind of content creators to join this community first. So that I think why like offering a better or like different sorts of monetization channel is important.
Agree. And well, before you mentioned infrastructure, and I think that's an interesting component of this. Everyone sees account abstraction as being a big step forward in user experience and what we can enable for users. But um, what other infrastructure points do you think Web3 socials need to address, or has addressed, that allows us to move further?
Hmm. I think there are from three perspectives in terms of these questions. There are three, I think, difficulties like current infrastructures cannot support very well, so that we have to develop new set of infrastructures or protocols to better support Web3 social product. So one thing is about the key management itself. We need to have better infrastructures to support users to manage their keys in a safe and non-custodial way. And the second is try to reduce the blockchain system's intrinsic complexity. For example, like the transaction complexity and the gas fee complexity. Because for most of the times, for people to enter the Web3 social products, like if like they need to care the transaction waiting time, the gas fee payments, then it will very frustrating for like first time users to use this product. And finally, I think there's current landscape, there's lots of L2s, L1s, and lots of isolate blockchain systems. So we need have a better infrastructures to do, for example, multi-chain account management or cross-chain communication, so that people can do like their transactions or their interaction with products without the knowledge of underlying blockchain or underlying networks. Yeah, I think these are three different problems or different things the infrastructure side should have a better support to build up a more accessible Web3 social products.
And you're directly trying to address a bunch of these, right?
Yeah. So we try to solve some of these problems But I think for some like difficult problems, we need the corporations and efforts from the whole crypto community to build up it together.
So, sorry, a few what?
To build up it together with other crypto communities.
Right, yeah, and I think that's very critical. There's always this feeling that when you have a market surge like we're experiencing right now, that might bring in new people to Web3, and that's always seen as largely positive because we do need new developers. We do need new ideas in the space. We do need it to slowly creep into the mainstream. So I guess another question would be, what do you think should happen this cycle in Web3? What would you like to see more of?
Uh, yeah, for sure. Uh, so one thing I think I'm feeling like very interesting and I would like to say is RWA, the real world assets can be binding into cryptocurrency and can be binding utilized in the Web3 world. I think that's one side. Another thing I would like to say is to um, say, for example, more network level abstraction, so that in general, I'm feeling like there's too many overwhelming concepts for users to learn, like different blockchain systems, why it exists, and why there's so many isolated ecosystems there. So that I would love to say more like a unique entrance for people to interact with the products instead of caring too much about different blockchains and different ecosystems, and love to say more unified experience for people to interact with these systems.
And in that regard, I think we're creating something pretty similar. Uh, Particle is currently working on our omni-chain account abstraction stack, and one thing that we're really interested in seeing is users being able to manage accounts in multiple chains by paying their fees with only one token. Because yeah, currently the L2 panorama is very exciting for Ethereum scalability, but there comes a point where managing assets across all these chains becomes too much, and where for you as a user to keep track of which assets you left in what chain, in one chain, what your private keys are for that chain, what tokens you need to hold to pay for gas fees, it becomes too much, and there's no universe in which Web3 is a single thing, in which we haven't figured out the cross-chain and multi-chain flows that need to be figured for that to happen. So at a product level, what else do you think needs to happen when it comes to cross-chain, omni-chain, multi-chain? I know that that's a problem you guys are also very interested in.
Hmm. Yeah, at a product level, I think the recent very popular idea of intent is very interesting, and I would love to say on product level. So that's, I think the interaction between people and the blockchain system may change in the future. So for now, everyone knows like open up your crypto wallet and sign some message or send out some transactions to somewhere like or like interact with some product by clicking your MetaMask or send out transactions. But in the future, I think it could be a totally different experience on the user side when they interacting with a Web3 product. For example, it more like could be interactive chat like ChatGPT. I can just enter what I need and what I want, so that there are intermediate solvers agent to help me figure out what kind of transactions I need to do and what of transactions lead to what kind of different results. So I can choose different routes to finish my original needs.
That's actually also pretty similar to something we've been thinking about, the intent fusion
Hmm.
protocol. I think in general, there are two ways that intents are represented in the industry. People talk about them either like as if they are basically limit orders in Uniswap, or if they're like a more general purpose language, like I guess what we're
Hmm.
describing here, and what we both see it as. Um, how far away do you think we are from a Web3 paradigm where intents are actually at the center of everything we do?
Uh, I would say it's not that easy, and it definitely takes some time to build. But one thing I want to say is like it's not actually very far away from our current systems. So, give you an example, like the intent concept is not pretty new. So in Web2 world, like the intent is everywhere, from like Google's internal systems to some open source products. The intent concept is everywhere already.
Yeah.
And in Web3 world, for example, like people can argue like ERC 437 itself is some kind of an intent framework because they try to abstract away the account logic and lots of gas payment logic so that you can build up your own account specific intent. So, and I think for the next step, could be there will be lots of new infrastructures to support like independent mempool or independent architectures so that they abstract away the complexity of a transaction itself and emerge a new intent focus or purely intent based paradigm. I would say, yeah, it will take months for people to build, but it's not that far away from our current landscape.
And actually, yeah, you're right. In a big way, ERC 43037 is getting us closer to intents in a big way. And I think like there's always going to be something that gets you closer to intents, right? It's not like
Hmm.
it's not yes or no. It's not black and white. You can get closer to the overall concept, until at some point you do have something like a chat GPT interface that executes everything for you upon your command. Although that's even something that sounds pretty new in Web 2. That's like I think if we could get to the point where the developments in Web 3 get close to developments in Web 2, it means that we're doing pretty good. It means that we're actually catching up instead of so far behind.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm curious about what your process of developing this intent network is like. Do you want to share a bit more about that?
What's the pros to develop this intent-based
Oh,
framework?
process. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Um, yeah, I think there are different stages to develop such intent-based assistance. On the one side, we need to have so-called DSL, like domain-specific language, so we can abstract away the current transaction systems. So we have a higher abstraction to describe a problem. So instead of like say, okay, this is address, this is a amount of ethers I wanna interact with this smart contract, we need to have a abstract way to describe the problem itself so that we can have a proper scope or proper tools to intersect the problem itself. So I think that's one thing to have a abstract way to describe a problem or abstract away from the transaction system itself. And secondly, I would say we need to have a clever solver systems to try to understand the problem and try to come up with a solution to execute these kind of problems. So the solver probably it plays the second important part on developing this kind of infrastructures. And lastly, I would say an execution platform, execution architecture is super important. For example, when you define or created a set of problems, and the solver find a path to execute these problems, we need to have a very high performance and a very fair platforms like Flashbot's swap. So it's an independent architectures connecting to different blockchain systems, and it can guarantee privacy and fairness. Because privacy is important because people cannot say what you are doing or what are you trying to achieve, and the fairness is also important. So that when the solver finds a path to solve some certain problems, everyone should have a chance to execute this kind of path or try to execute some transactions on different blockchains. And this is a critical part of building towards intent-centric architecture or intent-centric systems, I would say.
Do you think when it comes to solvers, um, that's one area where I personally I'm not too sure how that would work, because it seems like you would need to have a lot of different types of solvers, especially one solver for basically any transaction that's possible in Web3. How do you see like the ability to bootstrap such a large, well, such a varied type of market for solvers? Do you, yeah, I guess, how do you think about this problem in general?
Yeah. To be honest, I think it's hard as you described, especially in terms of like efficiency and I think one thing is like as long as you have a very clear problem set defined, and solver just trying to find out the routes, but it sounds like easy, but it's actually very hard. Just imagine like in current DeFi world, there's a lot of so-called DeFi aggregators. What are they trying to do is kind of like a solver. They try to, when you do a swap from token A on blockchain A to token B on blockchain B, the aggregator try to find the underlying bridge, find the underlying liquidity provider, and find the underlying gas efficient way to do the token swap. But most of these solvers currently are centralized. So like you send out like API requests to these centralized servers, they tell you the decentralized routes you can execute. I think in the future, like it's relatively easy to bootstrap it from a centralized solver first, and then they offer um, optimized routes you can use to compare the results with other centralized solvers and find and utilize the best routes you want. Instead of like from the beginning, you have a fairness or you have a very open solver marketplace. I would say it should like begin from a more efficient or more centralized way, and gradually, with the maturity of the whole marketplace, people can come up with the incentives to incentivize different solvers to propose their solutions to the intent.
In the case of the intent fusion protocol, yeah, our version of tackling this problem, what we see the solution of, well, the building of the DSL itself, it's basically by expressing constraints as outputs and inputs, right? Input and output constraints.
Hmm.
So One thing that I like that you mentioned that it's also true and that fits within this framework is the existence of aggregators, which are I think aggregators are a good example of intent-centric products that also are in some way solvers of problems because they well, yeah, they aggregate a bunch of solutions under these. What other types of existing products do you think can help people get closer to the idea of intent or that are already somewhat a role model for intent centric design that we can find around?
Yeah, yeah. One thing I would mention is about the Flashbot's new architecture called like Swath. I saw like people try to build like cross-chain orders by using Swath, so that they can just basically submit so-called intent, and then there are different solvers try to beat like the transactions and try to get the rights to execute it. And it's on the DevNet or testnet. I think that's very new and very interesting to dig more. And that's probably one very good examples towards internet-centric paradigm in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And even Flashbots, you could say that it was pretty intent-centric if you, I mean, if you try to dig into the meaning of the word, right? Like, it was definitely solving a user need in a very straightforward way. Um, I think we're just around the time to start wrapping up. Is there anything that we missed that you wish to tell the people listening this about CyberConnect or about what you're building? I know that since you're building a lot of things simultaneously, there might be something that I missed.
Yeah, 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 yeah. One thing I would say is like maybe missing is like although like we are building Link 3 as like for example Web3 social product or social platform, and the wallet itself it's kind of like a AA wallet. But I would say we also spend lots of time on the AA wallet itself, like account abstraction, design and research itself. We actually have a lot of new ideas around in how to combine like cutting edge technologies with account abstraction. For example, like ZK coprocessors to read the data online on chain, so that you can use it to as a way to do social recovery on a wallets. And also, we are exploring things like modular account design so that people can have their embedded wallets as a sub account of their master A account. So I would just express like Cyber Wallet is actually very actively to pushing the boundary of ERC-437 wallets and AA wallet in general. Hmm.
That's that's I think the way to go around these things in general. ERC 3037 is pretty funny because it looks at the same time very unflexible, but it does a lot. It does give you a framework to work with to achieve this kind of thing. And yeah, but I mean at Particle as well, we are thinking seriously and tackling the problem of getting this gets me back at omnichain account abstraction.
Hmm.
Just getting an EOA on one chain as a signer for so many chains, and well, yeah, back to the same problems we were talking about in the beginning. Chima, really, thank you very much for your time. Where can the audience find you? Where can they find your project and learn more about it?
Yeah, just find us through Twitter or Telegram would be great.
All right, Cyberconnect on Twitter and Telegram. You heard it, people.
Hmm.
And well, thank you very much for the time and for the conversation. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting for this. Hmm.
Thank you, and well, we'll see you next time. Keep
See
tuning in
you.
for more episodes. Bye bye.
Sure. Thank you.